Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this episode of Tree Talk, episode 239, with our special guest, Gavin O'Mahony, in association with Noel's Menswear. A busy episode to get through, Matt. There isn't many games to talk through, but we do have a Limerick legend joining us from about a minute on, so there's a lot to look forward to. So stay tuned for all that and more.
The impression the game you get out of it, what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge to the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
As I said at the outset, Matt, we're delighted to have Gavin O'Mahony on board this morning. Gavin, how are you keeping?
Good, lads. How are you?
Good morning, Gavin.
You had a busy night last night, the league final against Doon. You looked to be cruising for a lot of it, but Doon came and got the win, and it's a nice appetizer for the first round of championship when you'll meet again down the line.
Yeah, exactly. It tees it up nicely. I suppose the league is funny in Limerick, and that until you get to semi-final or final, there's no real appetite for it. But when you do get to the final, I suppose it's never nice to lose one. Particularly last night, we did look to be in control of the game, but in fairness to Doon, hung in there and took their chances in when they came.
Matt, you were at the game. What did you make of it?
Well, exactly. I think Gavin has summed it up very, 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 very well there. If after 8 minutes you would think there was only going to be one winner. Kilmallock had 1-5 on the board to no score at that stage, but the game seemed to turn a bit on the penalty. I think Gavin did it. It breathed new life into Doon. Like, it was a huge chunk of an 8-point lead. You were suddenly down to 5, and at that stage they were playing against the breeze, and they incrementally, I suppose, over the course of the game, it's fair to say, Gavin, that they grew into the game, and the 57 minutes when Kevin Maher got the goal, they only took the lead for the first time, but what a time to take it, and the momentum, I suppose, was with him at that stage. And Kilmallock, I'd say, Gavin, it's fair to say, were unable to regain it in those closing minutes.
Yeah, even for longer spells than that in the second half, we didn't look to be offering a whole pile. I think we ran out of steam and they were gaining momentum. But I suppose, the penalty was a big one, because if we'd got another 2 or 3 points up, you're probably looking at the game being over. But yeah, these are I suppose it goes back to the old cliche about goals. They're massive in a game like that, and it definitely gave them belief. I suppose they would have been a lot happier than us at half time, because we were after all the hurling, but there was only 3 in it. So that's I suppose lesson learned, that you have to kill off the game when you get your chances.
I suppose in fairness, I think there'd be very few that would begrudge Doon their victory, I suppose, and winning at county level at senior. Like they have been so tantalisingly close to the breakthrough at senior level for the last few years. This might be the sport to drive them on.
Yeah, they seem to have they're an incredible club, really, for bringing players through. There's an county team that passes through that they're not represented on, and that's been going on as long as I've been playing hurling, like up from 12s, 14s. Any teams I would have been on, they were always well represented, and it's still the case now. So they definitely have the players. And yeah, I suppose the first one is definitely the most difficult one to win, but it's a great championship, to be fair. It's ferociously competitive, and you can go on a run or 2 or 3 games earlier in the year and think you're in a great position, but it's difficult. It's a very long club season now, from when you kick off. Like, clubs are still kicking off early, maybe February, March time, and between then and the county final, there's a lot of hurling to be done, but there's a lot of luck needed. And I suppose no different ourselves. We need a bit of luck to go and win the championship this year. But they do. They're a brilliant club. Like, and if I keep saying, if they keep producing the players where they are, they're going to win one. That's inevitable.
Gavin, just as we're talking about Kilmallock, I suppose it's only right that we should reflect on your own career with Kilmallock, which has been phenomenal and phenomenally successful. Like minor, under 21, and 4 county senior medals. These are heady days for Kilmallock.
Yeah, they are. I suppose the team and a lot of my teammates now are moving on. They're coming to the twilight of their careers. But we've been very lucky, I suppose. Like on about the first championship, I was playing maybe 6 or 7 years before we won in 2010. And that felt like a lifetime. But when we won one, it definitely took the weight off. But like, we've been very lucky, and still to this day, like I'm kind of clinging on there at the moment. But it is hard to let go with when you're playing with a team like that. There's a lot of fellas. We have a lot of roads travel together, and a lot of tough battles that we've been involved with. And it's what the club is all about. You're meeting these lads every day, and like there's some of my county teammates that I would only see now at weddings or get-togethers maybe at Christmas or that, but the club lads you're bumping into them every other day, and they're the lads that are texting you to go for a coffee or to go for a bit of grub after training. So we're, I suppose, very, very tight group, and that's a very enjoyable environment to be a part of. So yeah, incredibly lucky. I suppose it sounds like we've lost an awful lot more than we've won, but we have been very lucky to win the trophies. It does make it very special. Those are the years that you pick out, and you kind of reference everything else in your life by watching the year you won the county or the year you lost it. So we've been lucky in that, from that respect.
But Gavin, I suppose the success of the senior team since 2010, 4 county titles in 13 years is phenomenal. Any club would bite the hand off you for it, maybe except Ballygunner. But I suppose it was born, and the foundation for it was laid by a fantastic underage structure that won minors and under 21s repeatedly, I suppose, during the noughties.
Yeah, going back to, like, we would have been playing ground hurling 2 or 3 nights a week in the GA complex there with likes of Paddy Kelly and Bernie Savage and these guys, and they put massive time and effort into us, which most clubs do. But I suppose we were lucky. The group, it just kind of gelled and it took off. Like Mikey Fitz and a few of them would have put in massive work and emphasis on putting in that time, making sure that every team had the work done and the hours were being put in. For us, like as kids growing up, it was a dream because we loved it. Like I had 36 boys in my class in primary school, and sure most of them are hurling. Like there was definitely up on 30 of them playing hurling. So we got the best guidance that you could hope for. Like we left school with the Hurleys and we spent our evenings in the hurling field, and even to this day, like, I'm convinced that as much work goes in with coaching and the structures that are in place and the games that are played, even the pitch in Kilmallock is still where the young lads hang out. They still have the hurling in the hand, and they're hanging around there for spending most of their summer evenings there. And that even now when I go back training, if I'm training on a Tuesday night with the lads, you still get the same buzz. It's still brilliant just to go in and put on the boots, and there's some of the younger teams coming off maybe from a match or a blitz or training, and we're going on and we're warming up around the sidelines while they're finishing up. So there's a brilliant environment there, and I suppose there's multiple factors to bring us to, I suppose, the success that we've had. But I've enjoyed every bit of it anyway.
The last one for me for now, Gavin. I believed anyway, in that period, 2010, 2015, 2016 in that period, that Kilmallock's destiny was outright success at All-Ireland level. How disappointing was the Ballyhale game?
It's still the one really that calls us. Like, it's you can lose, and we've lost a few county finals where we didn't perform. Maybe we weren't left for form in some of them, but in the Ballyhale match we really didn't perform, didn't show up, made a lot of really poor mistakes and hurling mistakes, which was like basic pretty much where we had been aiming for since we were 16, 17. That was the goal for us as players. We'd often talk about it, and even watching the games on Paddy's Day, like we'd often make reference to it. But yeah, it was disappointing. Like, and yes, Ballyhale are an incredible team. Like, and they had their homework done on us, and like the game was effectively over at half time, and that's a bitter one to swallow when you don't turn up and you don't really give your true performance. I mean, it's a bit easier if it happens in county champ semi-final. You lick your wounds for a few months and you go back and you go again, but trying to get back to Croke Park for a club final is incredibly difficult. Like the previous two counties we'd won, we lost out to Thurles by, I think it was 2 points and a goal, or like there was a puck of a ball in it, and then your season's over and you're back to the drawing board. But like the Limerick Championship is so competitive that even to win the championship is it's very difficult, and there's a lot of luck involved. You have players coming and going. Like, we've had a good bit of changeover even since in the last 2 years, even lads going travelling and some lads in the States now this summer, and different things, injuries, retirements, and new lads trying to, so like it's very hard to keep the group together. And like there's lads, actually John Kelly is home in the last few days from Australia, hasn't been home for 5 or 6 years, but he was not like there's players incredible players that have come through the ranks that we've lost. You know, didn't for one reason or another, we didn't have them to compete at that level. So it is extremely difficult, and that's probably the hardest thing is just getting back there, which at the moment looks a long way off.
Yeah, I suppose
Jack?
before we get into the club championship campaign, it does look a long way off. But between 14 and 21, Gavin, obviously you lost the final in 17, but was there a fear that the likes of the Piercek had pushed on too far? Like, what made 21 different for you?
I suppose there was a bit of that, the fear of not winning another one. And the Piercek, no doubt, had raised the bar. Like, they took it to another level. And that was probably a lot of it when we got a bit of a run. Like, we were extremely lucky in the group stages with against Ballybrown, and so Liberty's the same with extra time. And I suppose it just, like, we just got a small bit of momentum that brought us to that stage. But it was an incredibly hard working group, as in, like, we probably weren't hurling the best or playing the best brand of hurling that we have with Kilmallock in the last 8 or 9 years, but from a work rate point of view and a tackling point of view, that it just kind of geared momentum. We'd won a couple of those tight games, and we came out on the right side of it, and it's amazing what it can do for a group just to gel them together. And I suppose it kind of really emphasizes the importance of just taking one game at a time, because we could appreciate the fact that we came very close to being dumped out of the championship. And then, like, as we got to semi-final and final, it was a case of this is a golden opportunity, and we realised how scarce they were for us at that stage.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you probably brought through a couple of players like of Oisin and Micheál and Conor Hanley Clark and Shanes, which how did it feel, I suppose, in 2014? Probably would have been at the peak of powers. In 21, then, as you said, you're in the twilight. Like, how refreshing is it to see those lads coming through?
In 21, we had that feeling that, like, we're in trouble here. Like, we had 7 or 8 of us that were finishing up. A couple of younger lads that were kind of willing to take it or leave it, not really kind of committing to it, or not really sure they wanted to be involved. And that would have been the talk in Kilmallock, that it'll be a long time before we'll win another one. and it's amazing what it can do for a couple of younger lads to experience that. I didn't realise like that some of them had 5, 6, 7 years hurling done and hadn't won a county. So to get over the line and to win like that, and even some of them would still reference it like that, even to know like the how hard it is and the effort and it takes to just get over the line, but to have the confidence to know that it is possible and it can be done is invaluable. And then like we have fellas like Kieran O'Connor, even though Kieran has gone travelling since now, but Liam English, another guy, did a few, David Wolf, all kind of came of age as well the same year, and Bar Kieran has gone travelling. The rest of the lads have a mad appetite for it now again, so you're after finding 4 or 5 that'll hopefully take they'll develop their own group and their own team and move Kilmallock forward again, as the likes of me and a few more step back and drift away from it.
Yeah, and obviously the split season wasn't in when you were playing with Limerick, but how do you find it in terms of you don't have the likes of, I suppose, Graham and Shane and those at training, but you know that when they come back, they'll be fully committed to you?
It's funny. It's difficult. It is difficult. There's no doubt in that. We just about have enough to play challenge games. We played most of the league with kind of 16 or 17 players. Played one of the matches with 15 players, and that wasn't just us. Like the opposition were in a similar boat. But like if that dropped to 13 or 14, we'd be in a desperate place right now. We'd have no matches played, no challenge games. So it is a fine line. I see in other counties the mass exodus of county players that are out of championship taken off to the States. There's something. It's probably just condensed a bit much at the moment. Like I'd prefer to see it reversed. I mean, we have the intercounty stadiums and facilities to play the intercounty championship later on the year. We saw that in the COVID year that the stadiums are perfect, and I'd prefer to see the club championship played off. Give the club player that shop window to give himself a chance to break into the county panel, and then roll out your intercounty season after that. And I think it would encourage more supporters and people to go and watch more club games and see more. They have an appetite for it as well after Christmas. You'll be kicking off championship in kind of March, April time and see it out, maybe finish it up in June. And I don't know, look at playing tournament games then and the likes of that without your county players for the club if they want to keep going to some extent. But it's always been difficult. Like I don't think for the county player it's of no advantage. It isn't of any advantage other than you're not getting the break in April. Like when I played, you'd always play 2 championship games in April after the finish of the intercounty league, and then you'd go into the county again. So if you're a group of 4, you're only getting 3 matches. You 2 of them played in April, and if they went against you, you could effectively be out of championship anyway. So that wasn't the way to go either. But like for the intercounty players, still going all year round. Like nothing has changed for a successful team anyway. They're still, they're still training 11, close to 12 months of the year. So I think there's still a bit of tweaking required.
Yeah, still work to be done in that regard. Obviously, you played intercounty for the large majority of your career. You were with Limerick for over a decade. What's your, I suppose, abiding memories of your time with the Limerick senior hurlers?
There's a few standout days there and results, but I just enjoyed the environment. Like even the difference between when I came in and when I finished, the difference training wise and like it was definitely gone as regards professionalism. It was gone through the roof. Your gym work, that we had no gym work when we started. It was you train Tuesday, Thursday, and you game the weekend, and that was it. And then after a couple of years, that started to come in, but it was still very basic stuff, and it was kind of a token effort for a few months, maybe in the pre-season, and that was it. And I enjoyed being with the group. There was great leaders and driven people involved that looked for these things and wanted to push to improve stuff and wanted the gym work and wanted to be doing more video analysis and I really enjoyed all that aspect of it. I suppose when what I only start to appreciate now is the training. Like the training at the time, a lot of it was a chore. Like you could play a championship match and you might be out for 5 or 6 weeks. So you knew full well going back on the Tuesday night you were in for a dogging again, and it was going to continue like that maybe for 3 weeks, and then to lighten off and you'd freshen up a bit. So a lot of those spells of training were torture, like, and there's no other way to describe them. Very hard to have a pep in your step or to pull the positives out of some of those sessions, because you were so far out from your next round again that it was hard to keep that focus and see the benefits when you were probably picking up more injuries in those 5 or 6 weeks than you were if you were playing matches. So I like that's something I think that I'd be jealous of now with the Intercounty scene at the moment, is the round robin, even like to see those matches coming every other week would be brilliant. But there's a few, obviously the Munster final, and there was a few different games that kind of stuck out because of personal stuff that you were up against a certain opponent and you got the better of him. But I suppose unfortunately my time frame now, it's only now I'm really starting to appreciate him as I can see the finish coming with Kilmallock.
Yeah, I suppose that day in 2013, I know, like, what was, I suppose, the feeling in the build up? Because you obviously afterwards there's the invasion onto the field and all that, and since we've been blessed, but at the time, like, it really was kind of out of the blue for Limerick first of all to be in a Munster final, to win a game in Munster first of all against Tipperary, but to win against Cork. Did you realise what was coming down the line, that if you had won, what the reaction would be like?
We didn't really. We hadn't experienced any of that. Like I was around in 2007 to see the scenes of that. We had a brilliant group, I suppose. To be fair to John Allen, like, and John Kiley would have been involved as well. Like, he was really, from a mindset point of view, to me, he was the shift there with Limerick. Like, to say, he spent a lot of time talking to the group about, like, your expectation and your, what's the belief like within the group. I'm trying to drag that out of players to say, like, it's not just a token effort. Say, oh yeah, we'll win. Like, what does it actually mean, or what's it going to take? And he really tied the group together, like, got fellas to nail their colours to the mast and get them to commit to saying, look, I'm going to do this for the team, and if I do, I know full well we're going to be either we're going to win or we're going to be very close to winning. So it was a brilliant environment to be in. Like, Mark Lyons would have been doing the strength and conditioning as well. Like, he's world class. Like, we've seen what he's gone on to do with you in outside Newell. So, like, even physically, we felt 1% or 2% better. We needed to be 10% better to I suppose to allow for any of the lack of belief or confidence that we had as a group. So we trained incredibly. Not that other county teams weren't training hard, but we trained incredibly hard those couple of years with under Mark and with John. But no, there was no planning for what happened after the final whistle that day, or there was no, I suppose, management. Like, how could you manage it? Like, the county went off the rails, but nobody had experienced it. Nobody, like, within any of my age group had that feeling, like, since the 90s when we were only kids. Like, so it probably came back to bite us when we went to Croke Park. But again, when I look back, I'd have no regrets about that time, or, like, I always felt going to, even mentally we felt we're in the right place. But yeah, it was definitely one of the good days.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Clare game, and you'd hate to bring it up, but I suppose it is the one that got away for your crew, the 2013 semi-final, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint what we're wrong for today. I think Clare were just coming off the wave of momentum, and it was 5 weeks or 6 weeks at the time you were waiting for the Munster final. Like, what do you put that down to?
Like, even the start they got, there was definitely, 18, 20 minutes of the first half where we were only getting to the pitch of the game. We needed just to be tit for tat throughout the game for us to get the benefit of that, and I suppose get the benefit of our conditioning and that. And we just left them slip too far ahead. And if I'm honest, we probably weren't, although we would have considered ourselves as good as Clare or Cork, who were both in the final that year. We probably weren't there ready in a position to win the All-Ireland. I felt like it was more the following year for me. It was a harder one to swallow. I felt like we did everything bar win the game at 14 against Kilkenny, and probably just needed one or two more with experience just to get us over the line. And it seemed like everything that could have gone wrong that day again went wrong with conditions and rain. We got a purple patch in both first half and second half, and we got downpours that were crazy. But look, that's the beauty of it. Would I have done anything different? I wouldn't. Again, we felt we were very tight as a group. We were very well prepared. Like even like the the professionalism within the group and that stage had gone through the roof. Like lads wouldn't eat a biscuit, or there was just absolute dedication to the cause, and like that's extremely enjoyable to be a part of that. Because we have sacrificed other years when you're preparing, you're training, but hadn't gone to the level that was required. You're still doing the training, you're thinking you're in the right place, but like those couple of years really went up another notch. Like that, if you were seen with having a biscuit with your coffee, the lads would be pulling you aside to say, look, I'm not having it, you can't have it. And I remember even Donal O'Grady, when he was on the scene, like taking, telling lads to take off some of the butter off the sandwiches if we got sandwiches after training or before a match, like to wise up, like and that, like from a culture point of view, that would have been a big change, massive change from pre 2009 2010.
Yeah, and then obviously there's the two semi-finals. There's a few lull years, and then John comes in 17. Your last year, did you feel another shift then? Probably with John, but the players coming through as well. That the 21s teams. Could you feel that there was a wave coming in those years?
I'd like to say yeah, but I don't want really. Like I'd known a lot of the group, and maybe you're just kind of caught up in it. And I suppose for me at that stage of my career, I was starting to give up hope a small bit. That was probably the only reason why I stepped away. That I trying to think, and we had tried absolutely everything, and couldn't really see us getting over the line. I definitely saw that there was a group here that are going to win one, but not for a second did I think it would happen as quickly as it did. But like from a training point of view, I remember that year in 17, physically even these lads they had stolen the march on me anyway, personally. Like they had probably more conditioning done by then than I had throughout my career with Limerick. They, like some of the training sessions we had in 17 would have gone on for hours. Like, and I remember just not being able to function between trainings. Just basically spending my whole time trying to recover and get the soreness out. So I go back and train, and you go back and these lads are out in the pitch a half an hour beforehand, and they're hopping and flying around. Like, so I knew for me my time was at an end then. But I never really tried to think, looking back now, I never really thought of what's coming down the line or what kind of level of success. For me, it was, have I something to offer the group? And at that stage, I didn't think I had. I was really struggling. In 17, I broke my thumb, and I didn't get it sorted for maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and then I had to get surgery on it. And then I came back and I had an issue with a groin, and it felt like I was only kind of clinging on. And like, so I suppose I was kind of totally engrossed in what was happening in my world and from my point of view. But like, I physically don't think, I remember even speaking with John at the end of it, like, and he was saying, look, just take a few weeks. And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't think a few months are gone. And it probably was the case. Like, it took me probably 12 months. I remember even playing with the club the following year and had the same thing. I just couldn't recover. And then started to enjoy it again, started to come back and enjoy, and no injuries, and enjoy my hurling. But I remember him saying that, like, Ash, look, just take another month or whatever, and there's no panic, like 𝘕𝘰𝘬𝘰𝘪𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘰𝘯𝘴 in the gym, and all that was in my head was, if he gives me 6 months here, I'm not going to be able to get myself right.
Yeah, and I suppose if the body isn't right, you're not going to enjoy it. And do you feel like the professionalism kind of takes away a small bit from the enjoyment of hurling, just a small bit, and maybe especially intercounty level, but probably it's seeping into club level as well, a small bit?
So yeah, I'd be of the other way of thinking, that like any year that I was involved with Limerick where things weren't done right, like and we didn't push it to the limits, they were the ones you'd regret. Like I feel like when you do everything, you train as hard as you can, you put it all out there, no matter what happens, whether you win or lose after that, it's you have no regrets and everything is done right. And I felt like the core group that I was involved in were the same. They always wanted to push it and wanted more, and were asking more questions, and wanted to do an extra set in the gym, or wanted to make sure they were hitting sidelines or frees or whatever, and all that stuff. So, and I think the current group are the very same. Like, they're dedicating their whole life to what's going on, and we probably are starting. I think even the Limerick crowd may be starting to take it a small bit for granted. But like the work that they're doing is incredible. Like, their whole lives are on hold, and they're just consistently producing those results. Like, but that doesn't happen easily. Like, even this block of training from now between, like, some fella commented like that they'll probably take a few weeks off and they'll do this and do that. Like, even a week off for the lads, and they're pounding the gym, like, and making sure when they go back to following nice training, that they're 100%. Like, and the lads are going to bed at the same time religiously and doing everything. Like, that's a massive sacrifice, and I know it might be a small bit easier to do it when you're part of a successful team, but it's still, like, there's so much credit due to them for how consistently they're able to bring those performances and get those wins. But they really are an incredible group. Like, they're once in a lifetime. They're a generational team.
Yeah, and on the current team, obviously it's Galway in the semi-final, Kilkelly and Clare on the other side, the same as the four last year. How do you see the rest of the championship playing out?
I haven't looked too much at the other semi-final now with Clare and Kilkenny. I'd be apprehensive enough now about the Galway match. Like, there's always only in the last couple of years been a score or two between the sides. Galway physically, very able to match Limerick. That it will be tricky. Like, Sean and Declan are massive losses to the group. Like particularly Sean now with his ability to pick up Conor Whelan. Like, that's and we have fellas to come in, and there's players there. But I would, like, it's to me, it's the semi-final is the one, and whether that's Clare or Kilkenny, if Limerick get over the semi-final and it's Clare or Kilkenny, I'd still be happier than this one. I think, like, the lads are still not really finding flow, and whilst I thought some of the results they've pulled out in the last few weeks have been their best in the last couple of years, because things seem to just consistently go against them, whether it be a stray pass or a free or whatever has been, and they just still find a way and manage to get over the line. But I would be small but apprehensive about the Galway match now. I think it sets up nicely for Galway. They'll be well grounded after the Tip match, even though they hurled very well. The missed chances and missed opportunities will keep them very well focused, and they're going to be chomping at the bit for a go off Limerick. Like, they see themselves, on a par with Limerick the last couple of years, but Limerick have come out the right side and on the results since 18. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with the team now to replace Declan, because we're, like, if they're dropping Cathal Mannion the way they did the last day, which I can't see why they would change it. It worked very well from the last day, and, like, he's a player that you can't afford to let do that. So we're going to need probably 24 or 5 points minimum to win the game, and most of them probably need to be got from the middle third. So it'll be very interesting what way they go about it.
Okay, it'll certainly be interesting, but I suppose from there you're taking confidence in a lot of your former teammates, and I suppose the boys have come in since then. But before we finish up, Gavin, just a few quick questions, just in your career overall. Whether or Matt, you want to jump in there quickly?
Yeah, there was a couple of questions that I would just like to share with Gavin. During a lot of your career with Limerick, Gavin, getting out of the second tier of the league was kind of a holy grail, and it frustrated us so many times that we failed to get out until eventually 2018. You led us to win Division 2, I think, in Ennis was it 2011? You were the captain, and we thought we were finally out of it. Only, lo and behold, for the powers to be to decide that we should be in Division 1B the following year. How disappointing was that to the group?
It was massively disappointing, and it was something that was very little made of it at that time, and that's probably what disappointed the group most. It was just a case of this is what we're doing, and tough, suck it up. And I remember having chat with two of the lads, teammates in particular, and they said, like, we should be kicking and screaming about this, and everyone from supporters to county board should be highlighting the fact that, you win it. Like, to me, they should have set the structure for the following year and give people the notice to say, this is what's coming in 12 months down the line. This is what's going to happen regardless of where you finish in first or last. And at least your fate going into the current structure. Like, there's definitely an element of, like, if you're playing at 70%, your team are you're gonna adjust and play to that level, and you see that locally, even in club games, and that that you might have a team fancied that if you're playing a team, it would have been a massive boost. We felt like that was a great kickoff, and it was a massive win down in Clare to go down to Ennis and win that game. Like, when we were kind of written off. And it just kind of flattened the group, I felt, a small bit, because we would have loved to be going to the likes of Nolan Park and Pearse Stadium and down to Cork and Simple Stadium and playing these teams in those venues the following year. And I felt that's what was needed for the group. And as a result, we spent maybe 2 or 3 years then struggling with that and maybe a bit bitter about it, but not really realigning our goals and targets to give the league, I suppose, the respect it needed to go and get out of it. And we had a few very humbling results in the league then that, whether you like it or not, they do have a massive impact. Like the win in Galway in 18 in the league, to me, like, was probably, like, has been the making of this group. Like, even the fashion, the way they went about winning the game and the result that I can't even remember, they were well down, and were they 8 or 9 points down at one stage?
That's right.
Yeah, and the way up in Galway, the way they went and got that result was massive, and that's kind of what defines a group. Your ability to get over those games and find a way to figure out a way to win and get over the line. And I felt like it was probably the opposite effect on us. Then it had very negative impact on the group, and then as you progress the following couple of years and you're getting those poor results, it sets in, and it's very hard to shake it off then.
Gavin, your first taste of the real big time was as a very, very young man, as captain of Limerick Minors in 2005, and a great performance in Croke Park that day. And on the opposite side that day was a certain Joe Canning, who I know you have since struck up a very, very close friendship. Talk to us about Joe Canning and how you see Joe Canning. I see him as one of the greatest players that has graced the game.
He's, and we probably see that now with Galway. Like, this Galway team, to me, if he was still involved with it, like, would be, it would definitely be very much a 50-50 game for Limerick and themselves. He's, like, even going back to his club career, like, has been incredible. Like they've picked from pretty much the same group of players in Portumna for throughout that spell. Like, and when they went on, like, he was from his very first one. I think he was only 16 or 17 when they won the first All-Ireland club. Like, it's hard to comprehend, and he he was the reason for it. Like, and a lot of the Portumna lads would tell you the same. Like, he just had that X factor that he could turn up every big game, every big day. He was there, nailed all his frees. Some of them like were games that the game was in the balance, and never missed one of them. Like, it's incredible to go through a career like his and be able to do that and say that. And I still think he hasn't been replaced in Galway. Like, he just brings that kind of air of confidence to the group, like, because nothing phases him, or he never expects to go out and play a game and not win it. But yeah, sure, he's had an incredible career. I suppose personally, I'm just delighted for him in 17 that he went and got his All-Ireland, because it would have been a shame for him to finish up without one. You know, it's probably the only medal he hadn't won. And even the same year, it was probably his best year with Galway. He was, again, probably the difference and the reason why they went on and won it.
Yeah, Matt, I'll jump in there. If you want more.
My final question, Jack, if you let me, and I know we have constraints of time, but over the last couple of years, Gavin, you've dipped your toes in management. You've been with Kilmallock, I think, in Limerick, and you've been with Cheddar Plunkett in Laois. Have you cut the bug of management?
No, not yet. I do. I love it. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I suppose with Kilmallock was tough. I was still hurling as well, like the same as now, but I was only there maybe a night a week, or an odd week I was doing 2 nights. So I enjoyed every bit of it. I do enjoy coaching. So I've loved it. Last year, I suppose, was in Laois was a different level, but I enjoyed being in the environment again. I enjoyed kind of being around it, and that was, I would say, the first time I had been in that setup. To be honest, I would have loved another crack at it. I felt like the group were brilliant to work with. You know, excellent group. They're up against it up there. You know, there's a lot of things that kind of pull against them. So, but from a group point of view and a team point of view, there's like individuals that, like, they're as good as any hurlers across the country. But I kind of came in late. We were in the Munster Club with Kilmallock, so I didn't join them till the end of January. And I was kind of playing catch up a small bit. But once I got in and settled in there, I loved it. Like, I suppose it's my wife Becky that has to pay the price for that and keep the show on the road at home with the 2 lads. It was easy for me to jump into the car and head off the training, but I got a great buzz off it. No, I love being like that kind of, we call it, semi-professional environment where, you know, people are doing things right, and you're working with athletes that are, you know, hanging on every word and wanting more information and wanting to be pushed more and wanting to improve and be successful. It's nice to be around those type of people.
It sounds
Thanks,
like it sounds like you're enjoying it anyway, Gavin, and it sounds like you're enjoying your hurling with Kilmallock. So look, hopefully it can be another fruitful year for you with the club championship. I suppose 5 or 6 weeks away at this stage. But Gavin, thanks very much for your time with us this morning. I'm sure we'll have you on again. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks guys. Thanks very much. Fair play. I'm big fan of the work. I know it's a cliche, but it is. You're always very positive about Limerick hurling and what's going on. So you don't miss too many matches. So keep it up.
Cheers. Thanks, Gavin.
Thanks,
Talk to you soon. Now, that was Gavin O'Mahony, former Limerick hurler. Obviously, you'd see him still with Kilmallock. He's won 4 county titles, a Munster met with Kilmallock. Didn't get the big one with Limerick.
I tell you, Jack, I tell you, it wasn't Gavin's fault that they lost last night. I can tell you that anyway. You know, he's had a wonderful career. You know, and it's one of the downers for me, you know, that Gavin, and he spoke there about Joe Canning, who I know is a close friend of his, about getting his All-Ireland medal in 2017. You know, it tempered it a small bit for me that guys like Gavin O'Mahony didn't get that All-Ireland medal for the contribution that he has made. And you could see about the disappointment that he mentioned there about that league in 2011 like that. That was a pure fiasco,
Yeah.
you know. And he was right in what he said, you know, that there wasn't enough made of what happened. You know, you went into the league that year trying to get out of Division 2. You do the job and you do it the hard way. You go to Ennis to play Clare in the final. You beat them by 5 points in the final. And lo and behold, when the powers that be sit down in their ivory tower, they decide, oh, we'll have a change of heart next year and you're back in Division 1B. And we didn't get out of Division 1B for 6 or 7 years. And there were some desperate, disappointing results along the way. I think Offaly got a point at the very death one year to put us out in scoring difference and all that sort of thing. But, you know, Gavin O'Mahony, by any benchmark, Jack, has had a wonderful career with club and county. And I would see Gavin as, and that's why I asked him the question at the very end, does he see a future in management and coaching? And I would certainly think that we can ill afford to lose the like of Gavin O'Mahony when he decides that his playing days are over.
Yeah, I'd say the playing days will be going on for a while from what I've seen of him.
Well, they'll be going on, from what I saw last night, he's as fit as ever. They'll be going on for a while yet.
Yeah, I suppose for the younger generation, the real younger generation, like they mightn't have seen Gavin played and they'll see that there's no All-Ireland there. The likes of himself and James Ryan, Donal O'Grady, these kind of lads, they just left shortly before the breakthrough. Like it's no stain in their career. They'd be starting for Limerick teams now if they were there. It's just the way it falls, and it's a pity that, you know, you say his friend Joe got one, but, you know, Gavin O'Mahony will go down as one of Limerick's best ever, and it'd be handy to have next Sunday, Matt, because he'd slot in for Declan Hannon, not a bother in at centre back. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He could play anywhere, but
his versatility has been phenomenal as well. Like whether it's in defence or attack, and we saw the year that they won the county that he had moved up to full forward, you know, and successfully done it. But he's such a natural hurler, Jack, that Gavin O'Mahony will fit in any place in any team, you know.
Yeah, some hurler, some career, and a big thank you to Gavin for coming on there. Obviously, next week, Matt, the Limerick Galway game will take much of the headlines, and it will for us as well. But found out at the weekend that it will be Galway. They beat Tipperary 120 to 118. I was in the Gaelic grounds. I can't say I was too impressed with Galway. Like, I think Tipperary were very, very poor, but you and myself, I think included, had kind of singled out Galway as a potential team to take down Limerick. You know, very close in 2 All-Ireland semi-finals, and wouldn't Galway love to win the trilogy?
I said from the start of the year, Jack, it was Galway or Tipperary, you know. Although I thought Tip would win last Sunday now. You know, why I came to that judgment was twofold. First of all, that Galway, I was wondering how they would get over the manner in which they lost the Leinster final, not losing it, but the manner in which they lost it. And the second part of my judgment was based on the fact that I thought that Tipperary in that game against Offaly had rid themselves of the cobwebs and rid themselves of the ghosts of the defeat to Waterford, which deprived them of a place in the Munster final. But I would have to say that I was extremely, extremely disappointed with Tipperary last Sunday. Very, very disappointed, or last Saturday even. I thought they were generally poor. Now, they did make a spurt and looked as if they might come back and overtake Galway. And Galway were hanging on for a finish. But I was, you know, Galway deserved to win the match, Jack. Only just.
Yeah.
You know, and it is the type of performance that neither side will be pleased with. Henry Shefflin has no reason to go out and start shouting about it or shouting from rooftops about it. There's an awful lot of work that has to be done on Corrib side since last Saturday. If they are to come up to Limerick now, I take all the points about Sean Finn and Declan Hannon being missing, which is absolutely huge. But I agree with what Gavin's assessment of it there was, and I think there's huge room for improvement in Galway. And and I think they've been so close to Limerick, but they're really blowing hot and cold, Jack. Like in the Leinster Championship, like they had to come from way behind to draw with Dublin, to qualify for the Leinster final. In the Leinster final, they had it in the bag and lost it. And they had it in the bag too last Saturday and damn near lost it.
Yeah, but when you mention blowing hot and cold, they just have to blow hot on that day, and I think the big thing is
the fear.
And it's similar to the Conor Cleary and Aaron Gillane thing. When Conor Cleary was gone, Aaron Gillane exploded, and look, he could have done it anyway, regardless who was marking him. But there'd be hope, I suppose, for Galway and fear on Limerick that without Sean Finn, who has done extremely well on Conor Whelan, the best of anyone I've seen on him, could Conor, like, who marks Conor Whelan is a question for next week. Who replaces Declan Hannon is a question for next week, and we'll hold those thoughts for next week.
Yeah, well, you know my thoughts on Conor Whelan, and I've said it often enough in this podcast, and Conor Whelan is in a rich vein of form at the moment. I know that there was a period when his form suffered a lull there at maybe in parts of the league and maybe the early rounds of the championship when questions were being asked about him. But like when pushes come to shove, and when the big prize is on the line, Conor Whelan has been to the fore. So it's a question that we'll keep for next week. You're right.
Yeah, it's a mouth-watering game, and one we're definitely looking forward to next week with whomever we're talking to about Limerick versus Galway. Going into Camogie, Matt, and starting with the junior team, because it was a really positive result at the weekend. A win over Armagh puts them into the All-Ireland series, and we met Dave Deedy and the players, the two panels in the Woodlands on Monday night. What an event, as always, from the Fitzgeralds at the Woodlands. But the junior side into the knockout stages, and it was a slow start to the year, and a lot of young players that had commitments with minor teams and things like that, but seem to be finding their feet now, and they can definitely look forward to the All-Ireland quarter-final now.
They can, and you just touched on it there about Fitzgerald's and Woodlands House Hotel. Jack, what phenomenal supporters they are to not only just Limerick female sports, but to Limerick sport in general. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal, and what a lovely function, what an appropriate function that they put on the other night for renewing their sponsorship for another year. And of course this year also marks their 40th anniversary, landmark 40th anniversary, and by God, what a facility they have provided in our county. It's simply mind-boggling. But of course, after the launch the other night, there was a very, very, very interesting discussion, open discussion, and it was ably conducted by 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 former Limerick Camogie player, and the first woman in history, Jack, to hit a line ball when it was worth 2 points. There's just a little snippet of information for you. And she had a panel of Breed Stack with 11 All-Ireland medals with Cork, Ciara Neville, the athlete, and Mary Fitzgerald. Sarah Lavin was unable to attend, and Mary Fitzgerald stood in, and by God, did she give us a lowdown of how to succeed in business and how to build the edifice that is the Woodlands today. And it was a most enjoyable discourse, and wonderful to hear the two athletes and Breed Stack in particular about her career with Cork, and subsequently going down under, playing down under, suffering that very serious neck injury almost a broken neck. That that she said, she was millimeters from being probably paralyzed and recovering from all that. Like it was a riveting discussion. And I could see that the girls, the two teams, the ladies football and the Camogie teams were in there, and they were just absolutely riveted to what was going on, which was great to see.
Yeah,
I've strayed a bit, Jack, but I couldn't but say what I had to say there. I've strayed a bit from what you asked me. Yeah, David Deedy and his side are through to the All Ireland quarter final. When they were starting out this year, Jack, they were starting out from a very low base, didn't have a very good league campaign, eventually got off the mark in the final game against Offaly, and then, the randomness of the draw and the randomness of the scheduling and everything, the championship threw up Offaly again in the first round, and Limerick got the business done. Had a disappointing result in Armagh, but Armagh are favourites to win the All-Ireland Junior Championship. They've been knocking at the door for a couple of years now. And just as an aside, Jack, and I don't know is this good for anybody. They beat Offaly in the championship last Sunday, last weekend, 6-39 to a point. So you just wonder about about games like that, but. Like David Deedy and his management team, they've done a fantastic job in bringing the girls so far, and they're into a quarter final now. They're there on merit, and there's no reason why they can't progress to a semi-final.
No,
for Mayo, it was make or break, and of course, when we think of Mayo, we say, look, Mayo and Camogie, Mayo. In the early days of Camogie, I won't say were a powerhouse, but they were strong. They contested the All-Ireland senior final in 1951. The O'Duffy Cup is called after a Mayo person, dedicated to a Mayo person. So they have long linkage but they have fallen in poor times in recent years. But it was going to be a tough task going up to Touré and to beat Mayo, and they did it, got the job. It was all about getting the job done. And they got it done, and they're into a quarter final now, which I suppose was the minimum. When I was talking to David in the early stages of the campaign, it was the minimum he was hoping for, and by God, I think he's done a very good job himself and his management team in molding a team together, and he has brought in some of the minors, as we know, that reached the All-Ireland Minor A Shield final, and they've been doing very, very, very well for him. So it's onwards and upwards. Now I don't understand this, Jack. Limerick have qualified. The 6 teams that have qualified for the quarter final. There's Limerick and Armagh, Clare and Roscommon, Tipperary and Cavan. They're the 6. They've been known since last Saturday, and the draw isn't until next Saturday, and they're playing the following Saturday. The last 8 of the Ladies Football Intermediate Championship were known last Saturday. We had the draw first thing Monday morning.
Yeah, unless they're waiting to make the draw for all the championships would be the only thinking. But yeah, the team should know who they're playing.
Nonsense, Jack.
Yeah, but look, that's too often is the case. We're talking about issues off the field, but talk about the junior side getting the job done. The senior side equally so need to get the job done this weekend against Offaly. Big game for them. Obviously beaten in the first 2 rounds. Need a big result this weekend, first and foremost, just to ensure safety. But to try and end the year on a high note, because it's been an up and down campaign so far for John Lillis and his side. But a win against Offaly, hopefully the juniors will go on well, and you're starting to see Limerick Camogie go in the right direction again. But lose this weekend and you're in trouble.
you're in trouble, but you have that dreaded word of a backstop or a safety net, in that if you lose on Sunday, on Saturday even, you're sort of into the relegation mire, and there'll be 3 other counties there with you. And at this remove, with 1 round to go, it would look to me that those 2 other counties will probably be Dublin and Down. So like you're really going into a snake pit when you're going into relegation playoffs. So the job can be done very, very simply by winning the Camogie match on Saturday and getting the job done. Now, a draw will actually do for Limerick, in that they have a superior goal difference. A superior goal difference, or scoring difference, and but like, you can't be hinging your hopes on a draw in a Camogie or a hurling match. It's so unlikely. Look, talking to the girls the other night, I spoke with a good few of them before and after the function. They seem to be very focused, Jack, on the job. Now, Myrne Kramer is going to be a miss again. That leg injury hasn't cleared up, and of course she's a loss, and she reduces John Lillis's options. But I have a sense, Jack, and I saw the game against Waterford, and I'm convinced and that the final score against Waterford actually camouflaged what was a better performance by Limerick than the scoreline would suggest, if you get my drift.
Yeah. No, I do, yeah.
And it was the type of performance that I thought, if repeated in Banagher, the game is on Banagher at 4:30 on Saturday. If repeated in Banagher will be enough to get Limerick across the line. Now, they've met Offaly. Like, actually, Jack, this is the 3rd time that they have met Offaly in 15 months, with relegation staring them in the face, staring both sides in the face. Like, at the end of last year, or at the end of the 2022 Camogie campaign, Offaly sent us packing to then Division 2 when they beat us above in the relegation playoff in Moneygall. Now, I know the league was subsequently restructured, and we ended up in 1B and all that, and all that sort of thing. Now, when we met Offaly earlier on this year in McNeville Park, it was make or break for both sides. It was a winner take all. The winners stayed up and the losers went down. So Offaly are condemned to playing 2A Camogie next year in the league. So this is the 3rd time that it is make or break. And it's the 2nd time of the 3 that Offaly have home advantage. And whilst it will count for something, I thought our girls, as I said, talking to them from Marion Quaid, the captain, down, they seem to be extremely focused on this game. And I'd be very, very hopeful that they'll come out of Offaly with the win that will preserve their senior status, Jack, and keep us away from that mire of relegation.
Yeah, that is the hope, and as you said, they do have priors for getting the job done against Offaly, so hopefully that can continue this weekend in Banagher. So the best luck to John Lillis and his side. Also, the best luck to Graham Shine and the ladies footballers who are out in action this Sunday at 2:00 in Newcastle. They play Sligo, somewhat of an unknown quantity in terms of playing Limerick in their 2nd championship game of the year. They had that comfortable win over Kilkenny, obviously, to start their campaign, and another win here would see them advance with a game to spare ahead of playing Down the following week. But on Sligo, Matt, a good start for Limerick, a good start against Kilkenny, as to be expected. Sligo, more of a challenge, but Graham Shiney's side are going in the right direction, and you would expect them to come through.
Yeah, I do, Jack, and you're right. Like the Kilkenny, the Kilkenny event was a non-event, and speaking, and you were probably speaking to Graham as well, but speaking to Graham about it, I just tossed out the idea like that, what's the value for Kilkenny or for the group or for the championship that they come in and get hockeyed game after game after game? I'm not so sure, but I'm not so sure what the answer is to integrate them back as a meaningful county team. I don't know what the answer is. Graham was of the opinion that they were doing okay at underage, under 14 and under 16, which may be a block for the future. And I think he's totally correct on that. But as he did say, and he probably said it to you as well, that all they could do was play what was put in front of them. And they were mindful, of course, Jack, having learned from the league about the importance of putting up a big score, because they didn't put up a huge score against Kilkenny in the league, and it almost came back to haunt him in the championship. So he was very, very mindful of that. Having said that, I thought the forwards moved very well last Sunday. Or that day against Kilkenny, I saw the entire game. But it's like a total different kettle of fish altogether. Because first of all, they're a Division 3 side. And now I know they had a difficult time in Division 3 in that they only won one game out of the 7. They beat Longford away. But they will come with all guns blazing, because they will want to get back up to intermediate status again, and this is the vehicle to get back up. But I think Limerick ladies football are in a good place, Jack, and I would like to reiterate an appeal that Graham Shine made, actually, that the Limerick supporters, turn out in force on Sunday in Newcastle West at 2:00 and help the girls to get over the line. Like a lot of the girls are local. There's 8 or 9 girls alone from the Monagate Club, which is just beside the town there, and would like to see a big turnout. I'm believing that Limerick are going to win, Jack, and I just hope it comes to pass.
Yeah, I'd be the same as you, and it's important that you do get a crowd out this Sunday at Newcastle to support that side. That's ladies football and Camogie, and again,
before we go from ladies football, Jack, we had Niamh McCarthy in here a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, about
the little One Good Club program, and I would like to extend our congratulations to Niamh and everybody involved with from 𝘕𝘰𝘬𝘪𝘢𝘵 Bradford ladies, when it was announced during the week that they had emerged as the overall winners in Ireland of the competition, and bagged the prize of €5,000 for the club. But winning it is one thing, Jack, but we got a fair insight in our discussion with Niamh of the absolutely wonderful work that those involved with 𝘕𝘰𝘬𝘪𝘢 Bradford and her committee that was set up for that purpose, the amount of work that they did. This wasn't a free pass award by any manner or means. They did Trojan work over the weeks leading into it. And from listening to her, from listening to Niamh, and from reading the conditions of the scheme, I came away convinced anyway that they would be very, very hard to beat. And that's the way it transpired. And again, heartiest congratulations to everybody involved with Bradford Ladies Football Club. It's a wonderful achievement. But the biggest achievement, I think, Jack, is how they have extended themselves to the community and what they've done for the community.
Yeah, I don't think they left any stone unturned. In fairness, Niamh went through it in great depth, as you said there. So well done to Durham Bradford. A deserving victory for the West Limerick club.
Now, Jake, another bit of an advertisement. there is a big tournament on in Fedimore this week.
Okay.
It's the William P. Clifford Hurling Tournament. And it's dedicated, the trophy is dedicated to the former Fedimore native, former chairman of Limerick County Board for up to 20 years, and the last Limerick man to hold the presidency of the association from 1926 to 28. Now, there are top teams. Kilmallock are there, Kilmallock from Clare, Mount Sign from Waterford, and included in their squad, which I've seen, is Austin Gleeson. And the holders of the competition, who won it last year, this is the second year of the event, Capitagle. So, there should be a big turnout. There is going to be a great, fantastic day of hurling. It was a fantastic tournament last year. With Capitagle were obviously there, 𝘬𝘬𝘪𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘰 were there, Glen Rovers were there last year, and Patrick's Well. So, an absolutely fantastic tournament, very, very well run, a wonderful day out. Great work being done by the Fedimore Club in organising this competition. So I can think of no better way of spending an afternoon, Saturday afternoon, than to pop out to Fedimore, and there'll be some very, very good hurling.
Yeah, best look to Fedimore in that, and fair play to them for organising such an event with such esteemed guests coming down to it. Also, this weekend, this Thursday, I suppose, Matt, the Limerick Senior Football Championship kicks off, and we obviously have a full preview on separate video there on YouTube if you want to check that out. So we won't go through the championship at all. We were both in the Woodlands the night for the launch. One of us had to step in for a photo with a player fit jersey on, and they're player fit for a reason. I wouldn't be a player myself, so shout out to Jono for making me go into the photo, but don't worry, Ballysteen are actually sending out athletes to play. So anyone thinking that will be pushovers this year, needn't worry. But we'll return.
Jack, I have the photograph in the paper, and you know something? You look the real deal in that photograph.
I do, yeah. Surrounded by all those athletes. But look, it's for the good of the club, and we couldn't send someone, unfortunately. So I had to step into the breach. But we'll have a good team for Thursday. I can assure you of that. But with the return of the club championship, Matt, it's the return of the predictions, and you won the first year we did this, which was 21. You won last year as well. So this year, hopefully, we'll have a prize on offer. So if anyone can think of a prize or a forfeit, or if anyone wants to sponsor something, that's more than ideal as well. But we'll get kick-started with predictions, Matt, for 2023. 1 point for guessing the correct winner. So we'll just say if Ballysteen beating the Pearshing, we both say Ballysteen, that's 1 point. If you give the right scoreline or margin of victory, you get 3 points. So if you said Ballanders beat Galty by 3 points, and they did, then you get 3 points. So all aboard for the predictions, Matt. Are you ready to go for another year? Any words before we start?
No, but obviously looking forward to it, to the championship, and it actually kicked off last night, Jack. With one game, the first round in Group 1 of the Intermediate Football Championship, where Gerald Griffins had a 2-8 to 4 points victory over Palace Green. And we have a very interesting game on tonight, actually. Also, but it's in Group 2 of the Intermediate Football Championship. It's Galway, who were relegated last year, and they're taking on St. Sinnans, who were beaten in the semi-final last year by Broadford. So that's going to be a very, very interesting game. But the real business of the Senior Championship starts on Thursday. I think we have a couple of games on Thursday, I suppose, as we said in the separate video, none bigger than Newcastle West, I suppose, and Father Casey's. Yeah, come on, shout away.
Okay. We'll go through Group 1 in full, Matt. And you mentioned the defending county champions, Newcastle West versus Father Casey's this Thursday in Turnafulla. Which way are you going?
Newcastle West by 3.
Newcastle West by 3. I'm going to go Newcastle West by 4. And again, I suppose we should have mentioned these are only our predictions. These aren't a slight at any team or anything. We're not kicking or pucking a ball. This is just purely entertainment value. So,
we always qualify that by saying we're not kicking. Well, you kicked the football in 2 or 3 years ago when you were
yeah,
going
I
for
ended up
Betty
hospital for a month. So I won't be doing that again.
I haven't kicked the football in the championship, nor poked the ball. So, yeah. One.
So, and if teams want to use this motivation, they're more than welcome to. But this is never a slight on any team. So both going for Newcastle West there. Ula versus St. Kieran's.
I'm going for St. Kieran's by 5.
St. Kieran's by 5. I'm going to say I had 5. I'm going to go Kieran's by 6 points. And Clahan.
I'll give you first call in the next 2. So to be fair,
Okay, Clahan versus KP, Glen Palace Kinnery. I'm going KP by 1. Single point.
I'm going KP by 3.
Okay, and
yeah, no, I'm when I say that, and I'm mindful of the second year syndrome, and I'm also mindful of the fact that Clahan probably have a greater turnover of players than any other club from year to year, but it's a sort of a reluctant one I'm giving, but yeah, I'm going for KP, especially because of the form of Cahill Downs and Peter Nash, mainly.
Yeah, there's a few games that I look at and I'd say they're very tight, and that's definitely one of them. If not the tightest game, it's one of them. That's why I said a single point will separate them. Then into Group 2 on Thursday, Ballysteen versus Na Piarsaigh. You know where I'm going with this one. I'm saying Ballysteen by 3.
Yeah, I'm going Ballysteen by 1.
Ballysteen by 1. Ooh, tight victory there for us. I take it. I take a point. Friday then, Ballylanders versus Galtee Gales. This is where allegiances get tested, Matt. I'll leave you the first pick here.
Bally by 1.
Bally by 1. Not a very confident guess there. Another one of those games that you could see going either way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a local derby, and I know it's a cliche at this stage, Jack. Local derbies, form goes out the window, and all that sort of thing. But I think it's good. But they've had the upper hand on the Gales, so that is conditioning my thinking. I saw the Gales playing this year, and I did not think they were bad now by any manner or means. But I think Ballylanders always seem to find a wherewithal to win those games. They've always been tight for the most part. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Ballylanders on it. But as I said, only just.
Yeah, I'm only just going the other way. Galtee by 2 points. I've seen them a couple of times. When they're good, they're very good. But St. Kieran's are very good against them. So I take that into consideration. So Galtee by 2 for me. And then also on Friday in Bruff, Adair versus Monaleen. For me, this is the game of the round. And there's an awful lot riding on that game because you'd imagine whoever wins that would have definitely capabilities of winning all their games and topping the group. But I'll go first. I'm going to say Monaleen by 3 points.
I'm going Adair by 2.
Adair by 2. Would you agree that it's the standout tie of the weekend?
Yeah, it's the game. It's the game on the round, and there are a few factors in it. First of all, you have the Burks, fully recovered from injury, and you know what Hugh and Robbie Burke bring to the table, and the unknown factor in this one, Jack, is there have been 3 or 4 newcomers to Monaleen, and one just wonders how they have bedded in. Now, I know they've had the league and a good run in the league, but Jack, this is the real business.
Yeah, from what I've heard, the pedigree is very good for those boys. So I'd expect them to hit the ground running, but it's definitely a game I will be going to this Friday night in Bruff. There's a lot of Mountwarren games, that Casey's Newcastle game equally so, and we're just looking for a good first round of games to whet the appetite again as the Senior Football Championship kicks off. So there are our predictions. If you're a betting man, maybe go against. If we both agree on something, go against it. Would be my advice there. But an hour and 20 on the clock there, Matt. We got through a lot there with Gavin O'Mahony for 3 hours an hour. A big shout out to Gavin for his time, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
What a career it was. Did a bit about Galway and Limerick as well. We obviously have the start of the Senior Football Championship. We have the Senior Camogie side in action this weekend, as well as the Senior Ladies side. So the best luck to all those teams. Best luck to Ballysteen and Ballylanders in the first round as well. We have to get that one in. Huge thank you to 𝘢𝘴𝘴𝘰𝘪𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘰𝑗𝑎 for getting on board as the sponsors. And huge thank you to everyone watching, reacting, commenting. There's been great feedback to all the content over the last few weeks. So that's really much appreciated. Again, if you're on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell. Facebook, like, comment, share, Twitter, like, retweet, all that good stuff. Just to spread that algorithm and continue to grow the community. So an hour and 20, that's episode 239. Over and out. A huge thank you as always to you, Matt, and to the people watching and listening. We'll be back again soon next week. Thank you.
The impression again we get out with what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Seanie Buckley. To do that to 𝘕𝘰𝘠𝘭𝘴 𝘔𝘠𝘬𝘪𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘰𝘠. He deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the 𝘢𝘴𝘴𝘰𝘪𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘢𝘵 no more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the 𝘢𝘴𝘏𝑗𝑎𝑐𝑡𝑛𝑒𝑡, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes 𝘕𝘰𝘠𝑬𝑛 𝘠𝑟𝑒. Leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for